Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Hi, hello, everybody. Please get yourselves a cocktail if you don't have one, because you're going to need one. This is going to be a lot of fun. Hi, everyone. I'm Candy O'Terry, and I am here not just as a colleague of Liz Brunner's, but I am also here as one of her very best friends. And I think that's going to make this a very interesting interview, don't you think? Because I said to her, Elizabeth, which is what we call each other when we're being friends.
She's Candace.
Stop talking.
Hey.
You would think that because we're such dear friends that we would address each other as Liz and Candy when we're in friendship mode. But no, we do the exact opposite. So when she calls me on the phone and says, "It's Elizabeth," I know there's a serious conversation that's about to happen. And she does the same thing with my name as Candace. So we want to welcome you to the Four Seasons. Welcome, and I'd love to hear sort of the vibe of the room around the launch of Dare to Own You by Liz Brunner. Now, you can imagine, if you know Liz and love Liz like I do, that I have many notes here that Liz has told me need to be covered during this introduction, so I don't want to miss anything. But I wanted to, first of all, just reflect on the fact that many of us in this room know Liz Brunner for her many, many years on WCVB Channel 5. She was the anchor who was not only calm and classy and collected, but she was also that person that we were able to connect with as an audience. And I'm here to tell you that in her next chapter, she used that incredible skill of teaching her clients how to connect through communication. So if you're wondering what she's been up to, it's been an awful lot. For starters, she created Brunner Communications in 2013, and I'll never forget, I was on the air at Magic, and I got a phone call from her in the news booth, and she said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to leave Channel 5. I'm going to start my own company." And I knew right away that she was going to have just one more chapter in her incredible success story, and that's exactly what happened. Brunner Communications is a thriving communications company where Liz uses all of those skills, those ability to help people connect, and giving those skills to her clients. She also has Brunner Academy, which is an online academy where you, for a price, can learn so much of what we teach in our one-on-one coaching. And when Liz asked me if I would join her, I still remember saying to myself, "What? I'm a radio girl. I'm a radio broadcaster. I'm a singer. Why does she want me to join her company?" And she said, "You don't realize that as someone who's been speaking for a living your whole life, that you have a skill set that other people need." And lo and behold, she was right. And it's been such an honor for me to be one of her communications coaches for the last 3 or 4 years. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that she's got an incredible podcast, which is called Live Your Best Life with Liz Brunner. Up close and personal conversations, particularly with people who have reinvented themselves. These are all stories of reinvention. And let's talk about the book. She began writing the book during the pandemic, and maybe a little bit sooner than that as well. And I remember thinking this is the perfect time for her to pour her heart into this book because many people had suggested that she write her book. It is a memoir of how she got to where she is today, but it is also a guidebook for you to be able to harness the very best of who you are and to turn your next chapter into the best time in your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, for a little interview between the two of us, please welcome one of my very best friends and the author of Dare to Own You, Liz Brunner.
Thank you. Oh, dear.
First, she wanted
Candace, be nice.
Okay, but first you wanted to stand there while I was talking, and I said, "You need to sit down because I can't have that."
I guess it's your show right now?
Okay.
Okay.
So when we first arrived, your family gave me something, and you did too, called the Dunning Chronicles. How many people in this room have a history book about their own family? Raise your hand.
A few people
Nobody.
do.
Okay.
My family's raising their hand.
Right. I had no idea that there's a history book about your family.
It's actually on my mother's side, and if you hold that up very carefully, you can't see it right now, but there are, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the top photo, and the far right photo is my actual grandmother, Dr. Dorothy Dunning Chapter, and I don't know how old she is there, Mom, you'll have to tell me, but Mom, I don't know. But yeah, Grandma Chaco is, how many have read the book already? Because I know some of you have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for pre-ordering. Thank you for buying. I love it.
Thank you for leaving a review.
Yes. Oh, please. Yes, you must leave a review. Okay.
So
is this now you have to be serious?
While your mother and I were talking,
oh dear,
she mentioned somebody called Mad Dog Dunning.
Yeah,
is one of your
he's
relatives.
He's one of the relatives.
And he was one of the founders of the town of Sudbury and Marlborough, maybe?
One of those two, yeah.
Who knew this? I did not know this. Okay, let's get serious.
Okay.
Your book is dedicated to your mom.
Yes.
And you talk an awful lot about your grandmother Chaco. It is clear that these two women have been your role models. Talk a little bit about what you learned from both of them.
Well, I'm very fortunate to have two very strong women. Strong, you can use that word in a number of different ways, okay? Could be stubborn, it could be strong-willed, it could be inner strength as well. And I would definitely say that those two women certainly were unstoppable in many, many ways. And Grandma Chaco, as if you've read the book, her quote, "No knowledge is ever wasted in the good Lord's sight." And she said that so many times, my ears would ring with that phrase, and Mom would use that phrase with all of us. No knowledge is ever wasted in the good Lord's sight. So I'm very fortunate to have had those two women in particular in my life. Without them, who knows where I would be.
There's a message that runs through the book, Dare to Own You, from beginning to end, and it's all about courage. And so it's the courage to choose to be confident. It's the courage to face obstacles and to face failure and to come out on the other side. Liz, as a communications coach, as an executive coach, what is the first step in becoming brave?
That's a really good question, Candy.
Well, I think.
I think that it does begin with owning you, and that's the foundation, because without owning who you are, it's very hard to be brave. And you do have to choose confidence. You do have to choose it sometimes, because I call it the confidence barometer. Hey, some days we're up on cloud 9 and everything's going great. And there are other days when it's not. And that confidence barometer takes a dip sometimes. And how do you find a way to pick yourself up? How do you find a way to be brave even on those days? And so we do have to make that choice sometimes, and it's not always easy. It certainly hasn't been for me. But I truly believe that if we can rise above those difficult times and we can own who we are, that's the foundation. Start with owning who you are.
You have interviewed some incredible heavy hitters, and when you read the book, you will hear all about them. They've shared their stories about also feeling self-doubt. Mm-hmm. And these are incredibly successful people. How do you detect what we call the imposter syndrome in your coaching clients? And then what are the signs and the symptoms of imposter syndrome?
Well, there are many, but I think what's so interesting about being a communications coach, and this is something that I shared with Candy, that as an interviewer, when we were reporters, and we would have just minutes sometimes with people, we had to be able to find a way to connect as quickly as we could. If we only had a few minutes with somebody, we had to be good students of what I call human nature. And when you're a good student of human nature, you observe a lot. You pick up on things that a lot of people don't maybe notice right away. But when you do, now you find a way to connect with somebody. And what's interesting also about being a communications coach is that there are so many layers to all of that. There are so many layers, and somebody may come in for one thing. Help me with my presentation. Well, it's not just the presentation, because how we present ourselves, how we quote-unquote perform, often has to do with our experiences from growing up. And we've all had experiences growing up, good, bad, indifferent, but it's all those experiences that create who we are. And so sometimes we do have that imposter syndrome. Sometimes we don't have the confidence that we wish we had. Sometimes we're not as brave as we want to be. Sometimes we're afraid to even own our own authenticity of who we are. And those little things pop up when you are connecting with someone and being a good student of human nature. You see them, they manifest in how they present, how they speak. They might be more nervous for some reason. There are all kinds of things that pop up. But 70% of the population has imposter syndrome at some point in time in their life. 70%. That's a lot. So I dare say every one of us in this room maybe has, at least 3/4 of us have felt it at some point in time.
One of your guests was Mark Devine, who is a former Navy SEAL. And as the mother of a Green Beret, I do know that when these guys get tested psychologically, they're triple alpha males.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? This guy admitted to you that there were times he was filled with self-doubt.
And that was really a surprise. I was not expecting that in that interview. And he was so authentic with me. And I remember looking at Dan, my digital videographer who was with us that day, and I looked at him and I went, this was all, we were doing it just audio version. And it was unbelievable that he was that authentic with me. And he says he still works at it. This is a guy who's written 4 or 5 books. He was a Navy SEAL, so successful that he was at the top of his class, and he created SEAL programs for the government. And so, he was incredibly successful.
I feel so much better now.
Yes, you should. But can you imagine somebody like that saying, wow, I had imposter syndrome. I have self-doubt. I've had self-doubt. I still work at it.
So many of us in the room have watched you on television for so many years, delicately, beautifully, respectively handling real tough things that have happened in our world. I'm thinking about 9/11, where those planes came from Boston. I'm thinking about the Boston Marathon. And I know that when you are an anchor for this big #1 station, award-winning station, and your former general manager is here, Bill Fine, great station.
And the other one before him, on the camera, back over there.
Right. There you go. These are great stations, and a lot is expected of the talent. But a lot of it, again, you guys, has to do with the calm, the cool, the connected. How do you get through tough situations like that? When you're on camera, and we're talking about the Boston bombings, we're talking about 9/11, how did you compose yourself, and did you break down when you got off the air?
Yes, I did break down when I got off the air. And in particular, when we're talking about 9/11, my role was to go and talk to the victims' families. And I gathered a group of them together at 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 5 years, and then again at 10 years. And to see the transformations for them. That first 6-month meeting was raw. The emotion in the room was so raw, it was palpable. And when you talk about the Boston Marathon bombing, at that time, when you looked out the dining room window of the condo.
Where you lived in Boston.
Correct.
Yeah.
I could see the finish line. And so for me, I was there at the station talking about it 24/7. I'd come home and I'd literally see it 24/7. And it was really, really hard. And I could see the growing memorial on Copley Square. And I finally forced myself to go over there and deal with my sort of angst and pain. But there were times that we would get off the air and we would start crying. At least I did.
Yeah.
And it was just emotional. But I would also say to people that while I had to deliver bad news, very challenging news, I am a human being first. I'm not a robot. I'm a human being first. So yes, there is emotion, and it's okay. It's okay.
And I think that gets back to the title of your book. That has to do with revealing who you really are and the ability to reach through the screen and let the listener, the viewer, know exactly how you're feeling. And that means you're brave. Jack Canfield has done the foreword for this incredible book. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Tell me how that happens. How did you get that to happen?
First of all, it took me
Author
over...
of Chicken Soup for the Soul, we all know this, right?
Yes. It took me over a year to get him to be a podcast guest. Let's just start with that. And once I finally figured out a way in, and it took a little bit of time to figure out a way to get to him.
Kind of like when you got your interview with President Obama.
Yeah, I just kept writing the White House. Okay. Yeah. And when he said yes, of course, I'm a big proponent of homework. I do a lot of homework for my interviews still. You'd be proud to know.
That's why I have 4 pages of notes here, just so you know.
And when I did the interview with him, I was determined it was going to be really good. And at the end of it, I'm very proud to say, I'm not bragging, but I'm going to be proud to say, he said to me, that was one of the best interviews I've ever done. He goes, you did your homework, and I really appreciate that. He says, that was as good as 60 Minutes. I'm like, well, I wasn't on 60 Minutes, and that's the wrong station, but that's okay, I'll take it. That's CBS, not ABC. But
that's such a TV thing to say.
I know. Well, I didn't really say that to him. I think I said it to Dan after we got done. But I was so excited about it, and so I kind of stayed in touch with him. And Patty Aubrey, who's the president of the Jack Canfield Training Group, I wanted to interview her because she was his secretary. And now, 30-some years later, she co-wrote and co-authored 14 of the 230-some-odd books, and she helped build this first billion-dollar publishing empire.
Crazy.
And so when I was talking with her, she goes, you should ask Jack to write the foreword. I said, what? She goes, you should ask Jack. I said, really? She said, yeah. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm scared to death to ask Jack Canfield to write the foreword. Then I remembered something my mother always said, what have you got to lose? All right, so I wrote him an email, and I said, would you consider? And he wrote back, and he said, yes, he'd consider. However, he would have to read it. He says, I'm not putting my name on anything. He says, it's my reputation. I'm like, of course, I wouldn't want you to put your name on it without reading it. So I got him a draft copy, and it wasn't even perfect, right? It was like still early stages. And he read it, and he got back to me, and he said, congratulations on writing a great book. Here's your foreword. And I went, oh!
I remember that phone call. That was pretty cool.
It was pretty exciting.
What is it like, Liz, to hold your book in your hands?
Where is my book? It still feels surreal. It really does. And my brother and sister-in-law and my mom and I went into Barnes & Noble over the weekend, and it was the first time I saw it on the shelf. I know, oh my God, there's my book. And I love my sister-in-law. They were all spying out. She turns it around, and she puts the cover of the book face out. I was like, thank you, Barb. Where are you? There you are. So it still feels a little surreal. And even when we were putting up the books earlier today, I was like, this is my book. And where's Steve? Steve DiFilippo, another author in the room, besides a few more, but he was teasing me like, now you're an author too, just like me. And I'm like, yeah, but it's really amazing, isn't it? It's really amazing. And of course, Michelle's written a few books, and Karen's written a few books. So we've got some other authors in this room.
There's nothing like the first time, though, right? That
I agree,
thrill.
That first thrill, yeah.
Liz, you have come a very long way since you walked into a television station in a small town in Illinois and said, can I please have an informational interview?
Yeah.
And you had a degree in music. You had never been on television, but you had...
Unless you count the Miss America pageant.
Well... we are going to talk about that in just a moment. So I'm wondering, if you could talk to Liz, however old you were, 20-something, and tell her one thing, what would it be? What do you wish you knew when you first got started?
I would have changed my name to Liz Chaco. Yes, I would have. I mean, because my mother is from India, and Chaco was her maiden name. I would have changed my name to Liz Chaco. I mean, Joan London changed from Joan Blunden, or Blunder, to Joan London. I should have changed my name to Liz Chaco. That's what I wish I'd known, besides many other things about the business, but...
And now, since you mentioned it, let's talk about the Miss America pageant, shall we? So what's really interesting about Liz's pageant story is because early in the book, there's a whole segment on how self-conscious you were as a young girl. She describes Coke bottle glasses and feeling like you didn't belong and you didn't your ethnicity was a little different. Is she white? Is she black? Is she what? Is she? And suddenly, you turn into a pageant queen. I need to know what happened
wait,
in the middle
I'm not a
of that.
pageant queen. Can we just stop
You
right
certainly
there?
were.
Okay.
Miss Illinois of
Candace, I wasn't a
1979.
queen.
Well, you had a crown on your head, so keep talking.
Okay, all right. I decided to join the Miss Marigold pageant in Pekin, Illinois.
But you must have had a boost of confidence to do
No,
that.
I wanted scholarship money, and it was a $100 scholarship, and I was going to have to pay for my education.
This must be true because your brother is laughing over there.
And what did my brother do? My brother Stu, who's at the table, he would help. Well, then that got me into the Miss Heart of Illinois pageant, but he would run with me. And he literally would pull my hand. He would run with me in front of me and pull me along and say, come on, because I was trying to get in shape. No, I did it for the scholarship money. That was why I did it.
And it put you in good stead because it paid for your entire college education.
That and working in the dish room and the government student loans that I had to pay off for years, yes.
In our coaching, many of our clients will say, now listen carefully, everyone, I like to speak off the cuff, spontaneously. I just like to sort of be my real self and just let it all hang out, and let's just see like how it works. And we both go, no. Talk to everybody about the Bruner method of preparing for a presentation, but more than anything else about preparation.
Well, preparation is key, number one, and we're big proponents of that, and we work with our clients on storytelling and really crafting that great story, and everything, in our opinion, is a story.
Right.
Everything, a presentation, a speech, remarks, whatever, podcast, everything's a story. But the biggest fun thing is when they say something like that, we say, okay, well, let's hear what you got. Let's hear what you got.
That's where we turn the video camera on.
That's when we turn the video camera on.
It's a truth tool.
And we play it back, and they see, oh, that really doesn't work, does it? No, it doesn't. Well, let's fix it. And so that's what the beauty of working in person has been with a videographer, and I know we both miss that. And yes, Zoom, we send them the whole recording now, and if they are a good student and a good client, they will go back and they will review the video, and they will watch everything, and they will see all the things that we were pointing out. And the beauty of the work that we also do is that a lot of times people say, well, you don't have enough presence, or you talk too fast, or something. That's the critiques that they've been given. But nobody gives them the techniques and the skills of how to fix that. And that's what we do.
There is a difference between a wish and a dream. Mm-hmm. Isn't that so true? What is it, and why do we need to be really clear on how to make the things that are closest to our hearts happen? What's the difference between a wish and a dream, particularly as you go into a next chapter?
Well, a wish is sort of just an idea. Oh, I'd love for this to happen someday. But the dream is making it a reality, and that's putting initiative. It's putting action. It's actually creating a plan to achieve that dream. And it may take a long time, but you have to be 100% committed to that dream. That doesn't mean you drop everything in your life, but you're 100% committed to making that dream happen. And that's what happened for me with this. I had started it back in the summer of 2019, had done a little bit, and I felt like I was going off course, and so I stopped writing. The off course ended up being part of my How to Be a Rockstar Public Speaker course on BrunnerAcademy.com, FYI. And then
Could you write that down? It's called BrunnerAcademy.com.
BrunnerAcademy.com.
Okay.
And speaking of that too, there's going to be 4 new courses that are coming up that are DARE courses that are aligned with the book. Dare to go for your goals. Dare to rise above tough times, dare to shift from procrastination to motivation, and dare to find peace of mind, which is a beginner's meditation mindfulness course, but they're real easy courses, so I encourage you to look at those. But get back on course here. This March, I started back on the book, and I was on a mission. I crafted hours out of my day. I would wake up in the middle of the night. Oh my God, I have to write this story down. I was obsessed. Mm-hmm. I was obsessed, and I just was like, I was ready to write it. I was really ready to write it.
So dreams are the equivalent of action for you.
Action. You have to put action behind everything.
Liz, we are all here to support you, family and friends and colleagues. How do you want people to feel? Whether you guys have read the book or not, how do you want people to feel when they turn that last page on this incredible book of yours?
The first thing is I want people to feel hope. The second thing that I would want people to feel is, you know what? If she was able to do that, if she was able to go from being a high school teacher to retail to a 28-year career in television to launching her own business and her podcast, online academy, and writing a book, anybody can do it. Anyone can do what you put your mind to. That's what I want people to take away from it, is if I can do some of those things, you know what, you can too. And the other thing that I think is also important is about taking time to reflect. There are reflection exercises and questions at the end of each chapter. And I really want to encourage people to take that time to really ask yourself those hard questions. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I feel like I've asked myself those questions. And if you can ask yourself those questions, it could open up many more wishes and allow you to create your dreams.
Well, finally, one of the things that we always say is that in order for you to grow, you have to be brave and you have to take chances. And sometimes when you take a chance, I always like to say, courage is when you leap. Faith is when you know you're going to land on your feet. And so, Liz, this has been a really great year for you in terms of writing the book and bringing it to fruition. But you also took your own risk and your own chance this year by doing something very brave that had always been like on your bucket list. So I wondered if you could just share with the audience what you've done this year beyond writing the book.
Well, I do talk about it in the book.
I know.
I've always wanted to take ballroom dance lessons. And Andre Vitenko, my dance instructor, is here. Hello, Andre, wave. Hello. And so once I was fully vaccinated, I started taking dance lessons this summer, and I'm learning a tango, actually a choreographed tango, which I'm still struggling with. We've learned waltz, samba, salsa, swing, and cha-cha. Is that right? I said it right? Okay, good. And I'm having so much fun. Thank God he's patient. That's all I can say, because the brain does not work down to the feet yet. I don't know why. It's like I talk about muscle memory when I'm working with clients about the brain to the mouth and why you have to practice out loud. You can't just practice.
And why it takes 3 weeks of preparation in order to sound spontaneous.
Mark Twain. And so it just, has to go from here down to here now. It used to be 5'7", I think it's now 5'6", but I'm
it's
still
a terrible thing, I know.
I know, but I mean, I love it. I laugh. He's so patient with me. Thank you, God. Thank you, Andre. But it's a way for me to express how I feel, who I am authentically on the inside, and allow that joy to rise to the surface and be on the outside and be my authentic self.
Well, I can only say, Andre, that after she does her lessons with you, I live in Wellesley, so she usually comes over to my house, and she's floating through the house with a little flouncy skirt on.
Andre, how's this?
Showing me the
Is that
samba
good?
thing and all that. So, but it's been a great source of joy for you.
Yes.
So, Liz, thank you for sharing your story and for this incredible accomplishment that we're also very proud of. I wonder if we could please all stand and do a toast for Liz and for her success.
Okay, that's how it all started, and I got to
Thank you,
dance
Andre.
with Tony Dovilani, who was on the show, and that was when I decided I was going to do ballroom dancing. Thank you, darling.
Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your glass
where's yours?
for Liz. I'm good. Don't you worry.
You said water was bad luck.
That's okay. Please join me in raising your glass to a woman who continues to shine, and also for someone who is absolutely as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. Cheers to the success of this incredible book. May we have a #1 bestseller for Dare to Own You and Liz Bruner.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming this evening. I know it's a very busy time of year, so I'm very grateful that you are here. I'm grateful that many of you pre-ordered the book, thank you, because as of yesterday, I don't know if you know this, number 7 on Amazon's new releases. So I was really excited about that because in that particular category, I think there were 200 or 300 books, new releases, and I was number 7 behind Katie Couric and Cokie Roberts and some Christmas book, and Brené Brown, and Katie Couric again, and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I'm really excited about that, and obviously I hope it continues. As Candy mentioned, I do have family here, which I'm so delighted about. My mom, whom I dedicated the book to. Mom is here from California, and I have 2 of my 3 brothers who are also here. My middle brother, J.D., where is he? Oh, where are you, J.D.? Oh, there, he's at the door. This is J.D. and his lovely wife, Barb, who came in from Illinois. And my youngest brother, Stuart, who surprised us and came in this afternoon from Houston. And my eldest brother, the Reverend Galen Eames Russell III, he's a minister. He was not able to come. He's too busy. So really grateful to have them here. And then some other folks that just mean the world to me, and I'm just delighted that you are here. My publishers are actually here from Colorado, from Grace Point Publishing. Michelle Vandepass and Karen Parker. So thank you very, very much. And, of course, my dear friend Candy, who's on my team at Brunner Communications. I love working with you, you know that, and I love you as my friend. And Dan Tebow, who is my digital producer for my podcasts. So thank you. I'm very fortunate to have great people on my team, and many of the other ones were unable to attend this evening, but I want to say thanks to Vanessa and Joe and everybody else. And Helen, my intern from Emerson. Hi, Ellen. So awesome. I really am grateful that you are all here, and now I just hope you'll have some cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to head over to the signing area. I know many of you have already gotten whom I'm supposed to sign it to, thanks to my brothers, because I said, please help me out here so that I don't misspell anybody's name. But thank you very much for coming this evening. I greatly appreciate it. Your support has meant the world to me. And some of you are in the book anonymously, but you're in the book, and you have obviously had an influence on me, and I'm grateful for that. So thanks so much for coming tonight.